Hey guys, I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about the word petrified. I'm not sure how many of us have ever stopped to think about it, but obviously there is more than one meaning to this word. And two of the definitions that I found, one is being of organic matter, means changed into stony substance or ossified. And the second one is more of an emotional thing. It's so frightened that one is unable to move or terrified. And I'd like to think about this more in relation to my own journey and just share with you a little bit more about that to try to help you to be aware of these types of things potentially in your own life. But when I look back on my own illness, through my 30s, I was pretty consumed with being sick with Lyme disease. And it took 7 years for me to get a diagnosis. It's been 3.5 years since then. And I have come leaps and bounds and healed myself so much, both internally and externally. And I'm very grateful that I've been able to get as much spiritual clarity and health regained as I have, because truly to me, that's where good health will come out of, is the good, healthy spiritual state. And what happened to me was that my spiritual state became so ill that I became physically diseased as well. And when I look back, I think many times what helped to cause that spiritual disease was fear and pride. And so I felt that I had made some very poor choices in my life. I was in a very unpleasant situation that I had allowed to happen to myself. So I just really felt that I was in over my head. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I didn't want to tell anybody. And so I lived with that inside of myself for a long time. And I wrestled with it and I grappled with it, but I really chose to do nothing about it other than just let it fester in there. And I think ultimately then again, it did express itself in physical disease. But something that I feel I did a lot of work on was basically unpetrifying myself. So again, I feel like I eventually turned myself into a rock, or just so tight with stress and fear that energy was not even able to flow through my body at all, hardly breathing, very shallow breaths, different things like this, that I was living in a very heightened state of fear. But that then turned into physical illness. So I really want us to think about this in today's world right now, where we are, and the amount of fear that we've been experiencing or exposed to, and just really what that can do to our health. And I want you to be thinking about ways that you can help to ignore or not feed into that negativity or that fear. And basically this is going to be ways that we can associate with love or feeling good, right? And so what are different ways that we can show self-love to ourselves, love to our friends and family, love to our universe and planet? What are different things that fill us up that way that make us feel good? And I would have to say it probably has nothing to do with watching the news. Just a tip there to you. I never watch it. I don't want to be ignorant, but I also just don't necessarily want to feed into that fear that they're putting out there intentionally for us to feed into, because it can be somewhat of a controlling factor, in my opinion. And when we're living in that state of fear, we're less inclined to go out and enjoy life and do things that make us feel good. And we'll just sit there and be worried and have this wheel going all the time, and this heightened state of anxiety in our bodies that will ultimately lead to dis-ease. So pay attention to that. I learned that lesson very hard, in that I did turn myself into a giant stone, giant rock, and it has taken a lot of time and a lot of work to allow that to be disintegrated through different acts of love, different ways that I can take care of myself again, or different ways that I can pour love into other people that I care about, or my community, my society, so that this world can hopefully be a better place than when I found it. I hope this really does give you guys something to think about, because I often think where we are again right now with what's going on in the current state of affairs, and how do we change that? How do we make this better? How do we get back to a more relaxed way of life? And I really do think our mission here right now is to focus on love and stay away from the fear. Fear drives disease, stress, anxiety, all of the things that we do not want in our body. Love fosters all the wonderful, beautiful, joyous, happy moments in our lives, and allows us to feel better about ourselves and what's going on around us. So remember that. Take care.